with Jim Hammett, the assistant general manager of the Spokane Chiefs. Jim, we appreciate you taking the time to do this today. We're looking back at the 2020 WHL Bantam Draft last Wednesday. You look at the overall scope of what you and your scouting team were able to accomplish. How do you feel coming out of the draft?
We feel very good about it. Going into it under different circumstances like this, I think our biggest thing is we want to be prepared. And I was really impressed with our scouting staff, how well prepared they all were. Like I said, difficult times, but I thought the guys did a great job of having all the work done prior to.
Now, in the first round, you take defenseman Sage Weinstein. He's out of Edmonton. What is it about his game that really jumped out to you and your group?
Well, as you saw, it was kind of top heavy with defensemen early on in the draft. And, we really thought Sage fit into that top end group. We really like his 200-foot game. Sage is a really nice skater. He's got really good fundamentals to his skating. Can play in both ends of the ice. Like, he's got some offensive flair to him, but defensively he's very sound. And we like the physical element he brings too in his own zone.
Now, with your second round pick, you go back to NAX and you take Cooper Gazooski. What is it about him that really excites you? And is there something particular about NAX, the development they're doing there that, maybe made you go back a second time?
Well, we think it is a great program, but it was just a coincidence that Cooper fell in this range after taking Sage. So, but speaking on Cooper, we think, number one, we thought he maybe arguably had the best release in the draft. A real pure shooter, really sees his targets well, strong offensive hockey sense, and we like the way he competes for pucks too.
So, by all accounts, a lot of the general managers, directors of scouting, they've said that as far as they're concerned, this is one of the deeper drafts we've seen in quite some time. So you make 11 selections, I believe is the number. What do you like about what you're able to accomplish further down the draft once you get past, the first and second round?
I really like the blend of players that we got. I mean, we accomplished what we wanted to in a high-end defenseman, like we talked about with Sage. We got Cooper, who we think, again, is a high-end offensive guy. But then later in the draft, we ended up addressing some other things like goaltending with the pick of Cooper Mahalik, and then some big rugged defensemen that we feel are going to excel maybe in a Western Hockey League playoff atmosphere. A guy like Kyle Frederico for one, another forward, Jake Goodell, who's a big physical presence. And again, I can see their game translating well to the playoff atmosphere in the Western League.
Now, that's kind of interesting. I'm curious to know a little bit more about that. When you're going through the process of working through your draft and your draft list, how much does potential for big impact in the playoffs stack up against potential for regular season success? Like, do you measure those two against one another when you're looking at a player and trying to make a decision?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to, like, you want to have a good blend with your hockey club. Obviously, speed and skill and hockey sense are things that we really covet. But one of the things that we really emphasize with Spokane is character and compete. And, going back again to some of those names that I named later, we think all of our guys have the compete that we want, but we got some bigger, heavy bodies that I think, complement our depth charts all the way through.
All right. So the Bantam Draft is one day, but obviously plenty of work goes into it on both sides of that one day. For you and the rest of your hockey operations staff, what's kind of next on the to-do list as we move through the off season here coming out of the Bantam Draft?
Well, I think the biggest thing right now is make sure all our prospects, the guys, all our guys on our depth chart, we want to make sure that we give them the proper direction as far as their off-ice training, what's to be expected of when they get to training camp, stay in constant touch with them, monitor their development, what they're doing on and off the ice, proper nutrition. We're an organization that has a high priority on education, so we want to stay in touch with them and see how that side of the their academics are doing. So just a little bit of everything. But, the biggest thing now is get the kids ready for camp whenever that does happen.
Now, it's got to be a little bit more challenging doing some of that work this year, considering the circumstance. So is there anything unique that you're maybe doing to try and help accomplish some of that stuff?
I think it just goes back to myself and the rest of the scouting staff. Just try and stay in touch with them. We want to have constant communication and again, make sure they have the proper guidance. They're doing the right things on and off the ice.
All right, last question I'll ask you, and then we'll let you go. But obviously the Bantam Draft every single year, it's a big day for all the players coming through. It's a big day for their families, and it's a big day for the clubs. But that being said, it is still just one day in what is a very long development process, for a player. So, what kind of positive messaging are you delivering to your players to help set them up for success as they continue to move down that path?
Well, I think the first thing is to let them know that how much they've accomplished to this date. They've done all the right things to get to where they are. Again, on and off the ice, they've had success of what they're doing, and we just want to make sure that we keep them pointed in the right direction.